This is VOA Africa.
Good evening, I'm Esther Gidoyuat. It's Monday, May 6th. This is Africa 54. South Africa's national elections are set for Wednesday. Will the upcoming vote present the biggest threat yet to the long-ruling African National Congress Party? Encouraging men and boys to help uplift women, girls, and communities around the world. And in Kenya, a unique rugby team breaks barriers. Tonight, we begin in South Africa, where voters are set to cast their ballots on Wednesday in a historic national poll that comes 25 years after the end of apartheid. The election could present the biggest challenge yet to the long-ruling African National Congress. The party and its competitors attempted to round up last-minute votes the weekend before the election. VOA's Anita Powell reports from Johannesburg.
South Africa's top political parties are sprinting to the finish line ahead of Wednesday's poll. The ruling African National Congress and opposition Democratic Alliance and Economic Freedom Fighters parties held their final rallies in Johannesburg, the nation's economic hub. The long-ruling ANC leads the 48 parties contesting this year. The party has held power since 1994, but has weathered harsh criticism this year for a slew of government corruption scandals, which the party's leader acknowledged during their final rally.
Experience, we admit that we have made mistakes, and we put ourselves before our people and say, yes, we have made mistakes, but it is only those who are doing nothing who don't make mistakes.
Analysts say this election presents a tough choice for South Africans who've long supported the ANC.
It's about identifying a party that has a manifesto that meets most of your needs, interests, and concerns in terms of where the country's going in the future. And that's a tough ask, because the manifestos don't deal with what many people know are the real issues. And the politics and the emotion and the symbolism and political tactics has distorted how the various parties are marketing themselves. So it's a tough choice for voters at the moment in this election.
Those conflicted, apathetic voters are exactly what the upstart far-left EFF party is trying to mop up.
Comrades, I want to say to all who are saying they are not going to vote because they don't see how the vote helped them. You are committing a suicide, because by not voting, you are giving the ANC power.
But the leading opposition DA is also hot on the ANC's tail.
I need your vote. My fellow South Africans, this is not a popularity contest. This is not about who looks like what and whether you like this person. I'm not asking you to marry me.
Rainbow Nation picks its government May 8th. Anita Powell, VOA News, Johannesburg.
It's early evening in Sudan as the nation awaits the Transitional Military Council's published views for the country's transition to civilian rule. The council on Sunday said it would reveal its outlook for the nation on Monday. This is the military leadership's latest move in negotiations with opposition factions following the ouster of former President Omar al-Bashir. Protesters and activists have been negotiating with the military council to form a joint civilian military body to oversee the country until elections. But the two sides remain deadlocked over who will control the new council and over the features of a transitional government. The Declaration of Freedom and Change Forces, an alliance of activists and opposition groups, on Thursday sent the military council a draft constitutional document outlining the duties of a sovereign transitional council, which the opposition groups hope will replace the transitional military leadership. Germany Chancellor Angela Merkel and British Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt are both traveling to Africa this week, the latest in a series of high-level meetings as European states look to expand their engagement on issues like trade, migration and security. As Henry Ridgwell reports, Britain's planned departure from the European Union is driving an effort to look beyond its EU territory, while countries including China and the United States are also expanding their investment across Africa.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel arrived in Burkina Faso, the latest in a flurry of visits by European officials in recent weeks. More than 1,000 German troops are deployed in West Africa as part of United Nations peacekeeping and European Union training missions to defeat Islamist terrorism.
We from the European side have to become faster with our commitment.
Merkel's visit to the region coincides with that of Britain's Foreign Secretary, as Britain embarks on a new diplomatic push, opening new embassies in Niger and Chad and investing $5.2 million in English language teaching. Much of the region is francophone, with close historical links to Paris. So is Britain trying to muscle in?
I think the one thing it's not is an attempt to outcompete France. All European countries are aware that they need to develop links with a continent that is fast growing in economic terms, in population terms, and it has a major impact in terms of issues such as migration.
French President Emmanuel Macron signed investment deals worth $2.2 billion with Kenya during a March visit to East Africa, a region with closer historical links to Britain. London is looking to export its financial services skills after it leaves the European Union and tries to carve a new role in the global economy.
Those skills are things actually that rather tend to complement the things that other European players are doing.
China is Africa's biggest trade partner and investor in infrastructure financing, but there is a growing wariness.
Very often, China will make a contribution in terms of funding big infrastructure things that some other partners feel cautious about doing, but often this is on soft loan terms, which down the line produces a heavy debt obligation.
American companies are the biggest source of foreign direct investment in Africa, and the US government the continent's biggest aid donor. White House senior advisor Ivanka Trump visited Ethiopia and the Ivory Coast last month as part of a project to provide support to 50 million women in developing countries by 2025.
We believe that investing in women is smart development policy, and it's smart business. It's also in our security interests, because women, when they're empowered, foster peace and stability.
Analysts say the race to build economic and diplomatic clout on the continent is gathering pace. Henry Ridgwell for VOA News, London.
Now, in recent years, there have been various initiatives geared towards advancing the rights of women and girls worldwide. Ngozi Bell is the founder of one such initiative known as Rising Together. She believes including men and boys will help to advance women as well as entire communities. Ms. Bell joins me today to talk about the issue. Ngozi, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you so much, Esther. I'm looking forward to chatting today.
Yes, because everywhere you look, Ngozi, globally, everybody's talking about championing the rights of women, the rights of girls. What is different? What's your approach, rather, in this matter?
So our approach is that women and girls, right, is a very important institution. So we all understand that. But the difference is inclusion in a very different way. So when women and girls are looking at the issues that confound them or the issues that affect them, there's another ecosystem that surrounds it, and that's a part of that, and that's men and boys. So our goal is to say to ourselves, how do we bring together these disparate factors that people tend to look at and make sure that they're working together? So we make sure that men are included in our programming, boys are included in our programming, not necessarily as speakers in certain forums, but as recipients of information that modulate the way that they behave.
So in our conversation earlier via email, you mentioned something about the United Nations of Women and Girls. What exactly is that?
So it was born out of an organization that I founded, which is the Women's History Month at Lehigh, in Lehigh Valley. Lehigh Valley is the area where I live in Pennsylvania. Very beautiful area, and I'd love to welcome you there sometime. But the key thing is that we put together probably the most diverse group of women and young women, including young girls. And the whole idea is that diversity is not just about color. It's not just about gender. It's about the opportunities that we have. It's about the engagements that we're having. So if we're listening to what these young girls are doing today, you know what that does to us who are older? It puts us in the future. If they're listening to what we're doing today, if they're taking some of those opportunities and leveraging them, it puts them into today. So somehow we now have the whole spectrum covered. And that's exactly what we have to do.
You know, when we talk about women in general, people tend to forget some of the most marginalized groups, like women with disabilities.
Yes.
Where do they come in all this as we talk about championing the rights of women?
I love that question because that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to say that every woman, irrespective of her lot in life, is welcome. And every woman, irrespective of her lot in life, has something to contribute. So when we look at women with disabilities, disabilities doesn't mean that your mind doesn't work. It doesn't mean that you don't have vision and you don't have strategy. They become part and parcel of some of the strategies we make because they're the people that are helping us craft strategies for jobs that concern people with disabilities. So for example, one of my girlfriends right now that I'm working with is creating a company that is targeting women with disabilities, right? But she's not doing that in a vacuum and suggesting what they need. She's involving them. She's understanding what they need. She's making sure that she's leveraging their strengths into the workforce that she's trying to create.
Now, Ngozi, what agenda should women in Africa be driving in order to make an impact in the continent, or even in the countries where they are, or even the villages where they come from?
Okay, so let's just look at some statistics, right? So if we look at global investments that are happening today, for example, the venture capitalist world invested $130 billion, right? Only 2 billion of those went to women, right? But we're seeing that the 2 billion that went to women had a lot of women instrumental in that engagement. So when we bring it back to Africa, right, we have one great example of what's just happened with Jumia being an African country listed, right, in the stock exchange. But we're not necessarily saying that that's a woman-owned company. But what that shows us is that with the right involvement of anyone into the continent, success happens. So for women in Africa in particular is really for us to expand that ecosystem, right, to understand that we have a market that the world is looking at, and not just looking at that the world is beginning to understand is probably the market that is going to really enable the next generation of economics for the entire globe. So participating, whether it's in our small groups, within our villages or within our towns, being at the table so that we're not on the menu, as they say, is extremely crucial. Other women forming economic circles, what I call economic circles, you know, places where people can not just market their wear, but also get capital from, becomes extremely crucial. So what I'm saying is I really believe that women have to become part of these smaller entities. So don't look for the US to come and help you. Look within the country that you're in and form little entities, little ecosystems that bring the success that you need specific to the small market that you're focused on.
Ngozi, thank you so much.
Thank
I think
you.
we'll have to leave it there for today.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being with you.
All right. Ngozi Bell is the founder of Rising Together. Now, we're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please share our show with your friends. Also, check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, a one-of-a-kind rugby team in Kenya hopes to inspire through winning.
Bantu,
Arabic.
It is the beat.
The African beat that counts.
The beat does all the translations.
It cuts across all languages and gives us the understanding that this is the African beat.
It is so distinct
and adhesive.
It binds us together.
African beat on the Voice of America. For more information, visit our website at www.voanews.com/AfricanBeat.
I am Sheikh Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of. Politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
I'm Clara Frank, and here's what's trending. A new fingerprint technique capable of producing high-resolution images from the most challenging of metal surfaces, including knives and firearms, is already attracting interest from detectives working on cold cases. Experts at the University of Nottingham are using highly sensitive technology to develop high-resolution fingerprint images from surfaces conventional fingerprint imaging fails to pick up. The technique can reveal fingerprints in extreme detail, defined ridge definition, and the position and shape of the sweat pores, which are clearly visible, up to 26 days after the print was left. Next up, it's one of the Australian state of Victoria's tourism success stories, a 200-kilometre silo art trail. Now it's revitalizing small towns in the state. Visitors are making the trip to admire giant murals painted on the grain silos called mortoa, or stick sheds. The silos were built during the Second World War and used as wheat storage facilities. Some have even been converted into popular restaurants. Businesses are booming along the mortoa route, from pubs to hotels. Even the local stuffed bird museum has extended its hours. Meanwhile, in India's southern Mangaluru city, a popular new attraction involves man's best friend. The Canine Restro was launched for and by enthusiastic dog lovers who want to spend time frolicking with their pets and treat them to special picks from the customized food menu. The eatery also features a spa and grooming facility for the pets, a dedicated play space, and access to accessories like dog leashes, collars, treats, and grooming products. And that's what's trending today.
U.S. foreign policy challenges are in sharper focus this week after North Korea tested rocket launchers and what appeared to be guided missiles. Meanwhile, closer to home, embattled Venezuelan ruler Nicolas Maduro survived an uprising by loyalists of opposition leader and self-declared interim president Juan Guaido. Here's VOA's Michael Bowman.
North Korea's short-range tests sent projectiles into the sea off North Korea's coast. Overseen by the country's ruler, Kim Jong-un, the drill came as nuclear discussions between Washington and Pyongyang remain at an impasse. The Trump administration is demanding North Korea's verified denuclearization before sanctions are lifted, while Kim has sought more immediate sanctions relief.
We still believe that there's an opportunity to get a negotiated outcome where we get fully verified denuclearization. Chairman Kim has repeated that. He's repeated that quite recently, in fact. And so we hope that this act that he took over the weekend won't get in the way. We want to get back at the table. We want to continue to have these conversations.
Others appear far more alarmed by the tests. The chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Subcommittee on East Asia, Republican Cory Gardner, urged even more crippling sanctions on the North Korean maniac, adding the United States must ramp up maximum pressure if we are to peacefully achieve the goal of the complete, verifiable, and irreversible denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. At the same time, President Donald Trump's outreach to Kim is drawing praise from an unlikely source.
This is one area, actually, where I do not fault Trump. I think the idea of sitting down with Kim Jong-un is the right thing to do. It is very, very difficult, but clearly they are a threat to the planet.
Venezuela, meanwhile, presents a frustrating situation for the Trump administration as U.S.-backed opposition leader Juan Guaido's latest call for popular revolt failed to dislodge ruler Nicolas Maduro.
These things sometimes have bumpy roads, to be sure, but Maduro can't feel good. He's ruling for the moment, but he can't govern. The president has a full-scale set of options, diplomatic options, political options, options with our allies, and then ultimately a set of options that would involve use of U.S. military. We're preparing those for him so that when the situation arises, we're not flat-footed.
Last week, Pompeo asserted that Russia convinced Maduro not to abandon Venezuela for exile in Cuba. Days later, after a telephone conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin, Trump said that Putin is not looking to get involved in Venezuela and that he and Putin share a desire to see something positive happen for the South American nation. Michael Bowman, VOA News, Washington.
It's time for our Monday Sports Report, and joining us now is Sunday Shomari. Hello, Sunday. What's happening in sports?
Thanks, Esther. Kenyan world record holder Eliud Kipchoge will attempt to break the 2-hour marathon barrier challenge later this year, probably in London, in a project backed by Jim Ratcliffe, the billionaire owner of chemical firm Ineos. Kipchoge ran 2 hours and 25 seconds in his Breaking 2 project on Italy's Monza motor racing circuit in 2017, though the time was not ratified for record purposes as he used in and out pacemakers and a moving drink station. Last year, Kipchoge lowered the legal world record by an astonishing 78 seconds when posting 2 hours, 1 minute, 39 seconds in Berlin, and last week ran the second fastest time in history when winning the London Marathon in 2 hours, 2 minutes, 37 seconds, with Olympic marathon gold and an amazing record of 11 wins from 12 races over the 26.2-mile distance. Breaking 2 hours would appear to be the only thing missing from the resume of a man ranked among the greatest in this sport has seen. And now Premier League. As the race between Manchester City and Liverpool tightens, the Manchester City players stand to share a bonus pool of more than £15 million if they win the Premier League Championship this year. But on the other hand, Manchester City coach Pep Guardiola has admitted that beating a Liverpool side he ranks as one of the best will be his most satisfying managerial achievement. So victory over Leicester City at the Etihad Stadium Monday night will be a move that City will move City to the top of the Premier League table, a point above Liverpool, and leave City needing to match their rivals' result on the final day to guarantee the club to make history, becoming first club in English football to win all 3 domestic competitions should they clinch the title on Sunday and beat Watford in the final FA Cup. That is to retain the title for a decade, after already locking up the Carabao Cup. And in the UEFA Cup League semi-final second leg, Mohamed Salah will be unavailable to play for Liverpool against Barcelona. That is on Tuesday, after he suffered a concussion against Newcastle United on Saturday. The Egypt international, also known as the King of Egypt, has been one of the driving forces behind Liverpool's back-to-back wins. And to add salt to the injury for Liverpool, Klopp has already confirmed another Liverpool star, Robert Firmino, will not be available for Tuesday's clash as well. And now let's talk rugby, shall we? Kenya is one of the nations that this sport is very popular, and the country's national team, Rugby Sevens, has gone all the way to the World Cup. Now, inspired by this success, members of the deaf community in Kenya have launched a rugby team for the deaf. The team, which has been training for over just a year, has big dreams for the future. Sarah Kimani reports from Nairobi.
Martin Kaisovia travels an hour every Sunday to practice with his rugby team. But Kaisovia is no ordinary player on an ordinary team. He is deaf, as are all of his teammates.
When I was growing up, there was no deaf rugby. But I used to see that people like joining new things. Then I decided, let me go with a new thing. So this is a deaf rugby team in Kenya.
Deaf rugby is the same as a regular game, except referees use a cloth to draw players' attention. The team brings together Kenya's deaf community and helps to fight stigma linked with being deaf. Maurice Okwach formed the team and the Kenya Deaf Rugby Association to support it.
But Kenya, we only, the people who are hearing are the ones who have a rugby team. So we thought, let's copy South Africa also. Let's form our team. And then we wrote to the World Deaf Rugby, and then they told us, go ahead, and we formed it.
Deaf rugby teams also exist in South Africa, Australia, Canada, and England, and the sport is represented at the Deaf Olympics. When finding a rugby coach in Kenya who was also deaf proved a challenge, local player Brennan Rashid stepped in.
I have seen the progress. I've seen them taking it step by step, going places with it. I have seen them getting a proper understanding of the game, and that's just the best thing that I can give.
The team does not have any sponsors or official support and has yet to play a real game. But the players are aiming to compete at the next Deaf Olympics in 2021.
Let's get a gold medal. We must. That is my dream. And also we must bring a trophy. We must. I know Kenya, for the hearing, they are strong. So even for us as the deaf rugby team, we want to emulate them. We want to become as strong and as firm as they are.
For now, Kenya's deaf rugby team keeps training, their eyes firmly fixed on the prize. Sarah Kimani for VOA News, Nairobi.
And that wraps our sports for today. Back to you, Esther.
Thanks, Sunday. That was a wonderful report. Now, join Sunday Shomari next Monday for another sports report right here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, have a good night.